Hey everybody, it's Randall from Flomaton Famous. I'm out here in the fig orchard today, and everybody wants to ask the question, how hardy is my fig tree down to? What is the extreme cold temperature that your fig will survive during a winter freeze? Well, we're here to go over some of my results so that maybe it can enlighten you a little bit to help you answer that question. About 2 weeks ago, we got down to 10 degrees, which is a record-breaking cold weather for this area. I can't remember a time, being 50 years old, that we have ever gotten down that cold here. And we had also, a day before that, about 7 to 8 inches of snow out here, which is also record-breaking for us. This is how I used to go to school every day growing up. Up there were a hill both ways.
That's our snow dog. All the way to the door. So I wanted to give the orchard a little bit of time so it warmed up, and the last week or so has been in the 60s and 70s. So if we are going to suffer or see any kind of suffering damage, it should be showing by now. So I grabbed my grafting knife and my orchard layout plan, and I came out and I went up and down every row, and I scraped the bark on every one of my trees, and I developed and checked off a list of the ones that did and the ones that did not survive the freeze. Sad to say, we're going to have some significant damage here, and we're going to probably lose about 3/4 of the growth that you see out here. We're going to have to come back and cut these off from the ground, or either way, they're going to have to come back from the roots because we've got complete die off back down to the ground. Now, do I expect any of these plants to completely die and be gone? No. Figs are pretty cold hardy. They can withstand a lot even if they die back to the roots. In the spring, when it warms up, they'll start putting on growth again. Even though we're in the 70s now, we're not really seeing any of that growth yet. But let's go ahead and let's do a rundown of everything that survived the hard freeze. I'm standing right here by DC6, which is an LSU variety, and I've come to the conclusion that most of the LSU varieties are cold hardy. So whenever I came along and you want to know what I'm looking at, I come up to the wood here. Here's a little area that I've already scraped. I'll just scrape another little area for you. And see that green wood right there? That green wood tells me that stem is still alive even 2 weeks after the freeze. Now I can come over here and give an example of what to look for to see if you've got dieback. So whenever I come to this tree here, and if you look, I've got some mold that is starting to grow along the stem. So this is one indication that I've got dieback. Another obvious factor is this split bark right here. Whenever you see the bark has been split like that, and right here, you know that has done some damage. And we lift the wood away, you can see it's completely dead under there. This limb is a loss. This variety happens to be LSU Purple. LSU Purple is one of those ones that didn't do very well for me here this year. So LSU DC6, which I mentioned earlier, LSU St. Gabriel, LSU Scots Yellow, LSU Gold, Champagne, Scots Black, all did very well. The ones that I didn't have, that didn't survive, would be LSU Thibodeau, LSU Purple, and that's it out of all my LSU varieties. So maybe you can draw some conclusions. Maybe an LSU variety would fit your area. Okay, let's talk about some of the other varieties that did survive the freeze. All the way at the far end of the orchard at my very beginning, coming this way, is Galatia Negra. Peter's Honey did very well, which is already known to be fairly cold hardy. Stella. And Patsy's Pride. Not a lot of people know about Patsy's Pride. That one survived. Red Lebanese Baca Valley, RLBV. Drap de Or. Adeleo's Purple, which is one of my favorites. St. Rita, believe it or not, one of our favorites out in the entire orchard, St. Rita. It looks like the whole plant survived the freeze. So it's a cold hardy one that maybe you would add to your collection.
Randall, what did you do to prepare for the freeze?
The key thing is whenever you're going to prepare for a freeze, you really want, at a minimum, protect that root ball. So we knew the freeze was coming. We look at our long range forecast on YouTube, some of the weather forecasters there, and they were calling for a really hard freeze. So about 10 days beforehand, we got out and we took a load of compost and we piled it up over the root ball. And you really want to protect that root ball from freezing, which our ground very seldom gets down to killing temperatures right below the surface. So the root ball in this area does pretty good, but just try to give it that little extra protection by putting a pile of compost right on top of the root ball. So we took a couple hours and we went along and did that. With 140 varieties, it's impossible to go through here and wrap over the top of every tree in our orchard. It's not practical. I'd rather just sacrifice the tree, take the cutting, or see if it's going to survive the winter and just take the loss if nothing else. Continuing on with our list of everything that did survive is Black Manzanita, Desert King, Sangue Dolce. So that is it in our young orchard. Now, what I really want to do is I want to take you to our front orchard that's about 7 years old. And let's talk about the effects that the winter freeze had on those trees up there. All right, we are in our front orchard. Most of these trees have been in the ground since we bought the place. And like Lebanese yellow here, no, actually this is Adeleo's purple. Adeleo's purple. I took my knife, and I'm gonna tell you now that even when I started on CLBC, right here in the front, it's been in ground 3 years. And I don't know if there's a little bit of protection from the trees that are around. I don't think so. It's just the fact that these are established trees and we have good lignification. This little tree right here is still green.
Now, I was talking about lignification, and usually it's an indicator whether your tree will survive a freeze or not. But if you look down here, I got some young, tender growth, and it's not completely lignified. I've got some green on it, which is obviously still showing that it's good. These were completely buried in snow, so I don't know if the snow insulated it from the next night when it dropped down to 10 degrees. It may have, so that may have also offered a little layer of protection there. But all of this that was sticking up above the snow when it dropped down to 10 degrees, it's still good. But let's just walk down the row and now that you know that all these survived a freeze, let's just talk about the varieties. At least name what varieties they are. So that's Adelios Purple. And this is Lebanese Yellow. The little one in the front was Colonel Littman's Black Cross. We just call it CLBC for short. Ponte Tresa has only been in the ground for about 3 years, and it too has survived, and it's green all the way to the top except for just the very tip branches. I've got some dieback just on the tips there, but well lignified. Dominic, Alma, Danny's Delight, and then the one that is known and it's in its name to be cold hardy of all the cold hardy varieties is Hardy Chicago. I've not seen any dieback on this one anywhere on it. Another LSU variety, Scots Yellow, which as a small tree in my orchard, I mentioned earlier that it survived the cold, and so did this larger one. Black Celeste, and another LSU variety, Champagne. One of the key takeaways that we're learning here is the more established the tree, the more lignified the wood, the better the chance it is to survive a cold freeze. Last year, these same trees withstood down to 15 degrees over a 4-day period, and we didn't have to cut them back. They also survived the cold weather there also. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this little quick video. Maybe you can take a better judgment of what trees to add to your collection that help you survive the winter in your area. Like, share, subscribe. Leave us a comment and let us know what trees work well for you as far as cold hardiness. I'd like to know. Remember, keep growing, keep building, and always keep adventuring. Together, we're Fulton Famous. We'll see you on the next one.